Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about supply and a little bit more about the narcissist falsity or who they are. So let's jump in. The narcissists, they have the primary, secondary, and tertiary supply. And of course, the primary supply is going to be the one that they typically spend most of their time with. Now, they're not going to get the primary source that they like, and these may not last long, but because they don't come across us very often, but they get temporary primaries. And part of the reason why they have secondary and tertiary, well, we all know they're concerned, afraid of abandonment, so they have the ability to detach from the relationship, but not forever. They can't love you, so they can leave you, but they can't leave you forever because they have abandonment issues. That's why when you leave them permanently, and it was unexpected, it usually throws them into a collapse at some point, especially if you were that primary supply. But they also have secondary and tertiary supply because over time, when you're with a narcissist for a period of time, your fuel runs low. Everything in your body runs low. Like I said, your personality, your character, your integrity, you don't have time for them, you don't have the energy, and you're sick and tired of it. So what happens is, yeah, they do this breadcrumbing of love bomb or the hot and the cold. You know, they'll give you the carrot and then the stick and beat you with the stick just to keep you, you know, kind of up at like this. And that's what your endocrine system does as well. That's why you get addicted to them. But they also have the secondary supply, because the secondary supply is somebody that really will validate them. Somebody that's going to praise them. They're like this vacation spot to some degree, right? You know, they always say that the primary source is the worst position to be in because you get the brunt of all of the evil that they spew out on a daily basis, and you usually don't get too many rewards. To where the secondary supply is somebody who sees them once in a while. They don't have to deal with the issues of their life. So they can love bomb each other. So that's part of the reason that the narcissist likes the secondary supply or the tertiary, because they're going to be almost in love bomb phase all the time until that secondary supply gets to the point to where they want to be in the primary spot, or they want to be in a real relationship with them. So it just depends. If they have an agreement to not do that, then it can go on forever. But a lot of times the secondary wants more out of the relationship, so they will future fake them. But what I wanted to get at was the fact that they need that outside validation. So if they have a primary source at home, that primary source is going to eventually not give them the validation that they want, not on a consistent basis, because they're going to be worn out and worn down, and they're going to be tired of their games. And when it comes to the situation with how there is nothing there, because they lie all the time. When you lie your whole life and nobody knows your history, they compartmentalize everything to a point to where nobody knows anything about them outside of the people that grew up with them. And those people would be able to tell you a whole different side to them. Like, it would blow your mind. And it's always hugely more inferior than the stories they're telling you. They may tell you about all these credentials they have and all these degrees they have and all of these tragedies that they've made it through. And then you'll talk to a family member and they'll tell you none of it is true. When you lie all the time, good and evil, you can't have pure evil with the goodness of you having the ability to love and to have your innateness and your innate spirit. And that's why the narcissist just gets so bad, because there is grace for all of us. I mean, we've all done bad things. We've all had times in our life to where, you know, you could look back and be like, man, I was really bad then. But the Lord, he had grace on you as far as the things that he gave us in humanity, the tools that he gave us. See, the fruits of the Spirit and your innateness and your inside voice, those are things that are tools. That's really what they are. But what the narcissist did was, like, your mind, will, and emotions, they're kind of like, that's your soul, but it's kind of without your innateness and your inner voice, that with the power of God controlling it and putting the evil captive and being able to have good self-control is truly from knowing the Lord and filling your vessel. And that's where you get good self-control over your flesh and your mind, will, and emotions to keep it intact on a level that will help you, lead you to holiness, you know, and lead you to a good, successful life. And I'm not talking about just finances, because that's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your quality of life. When we talk about blessings to me are good relationships and being able to live a life to where I don't have too much to where I deny God, or too little to where I deny God, like it says in the Word. But to be able to have good relationships and to have peace and harmony and to be able to enjoy life, but give the Lord his time, which is hard. It's all hard because you're talking about things and your mind will continuously, you know, tell you that you're just in this physicality, and you know you're not. And that's why you need your spirit to be strong, because if your spirit isn't strong, then what happens is the flesh, your body, with your mind, will, and emotions will overpower your spirit, man. And that's what you see in the world today a lot, even in Christians, because they don't put that time in with the Lord. That's why it says it's not about religion, it's about relationship with the Lord. Because if you form that relationship, it's kind of like you don't want to be on a diet, you want to have a lifestyle change, something that you kind of can implement in your life to where you enjoy it every day. You get involved in it and you don't quit it. And that's the thing with the narcissist. That's why they can't stay with you long, because they're faking the whole time. And then they get impulsive and they get bored, and they also feel like they're missing out on some action. And anybody that lifts them up through validation, it just takes them away, man. If they have a primary source at home is when they feel the most comfortable, because then they know that they have a solid foundation at home and they're rooted down and they're safe, especially if they got that individual tied up with children and finances to where they can't just leave them if they wanted to. Then they feel the most comfortable going out and getting secondary, tertiary, and all those supplies they need, because they also don't feel down a whole lot, because they're always projecting onto that primary source if it's a good one, and they accept all that and don't know really exactly what's going on, and they love the individual or are bonded to them. So a lot of times, you know, people will say that, you know, the evil in them is really the true self, but it's really not. It's really them reacting for all the stuff that they're burying down inside them and trying to put under the carpet, to sweep it under the carpet, so to speak. I mean, the mound under the carpet is at some point, the older they get, the less it takes to get them to rage out. And what you're getting when you go against them and they rage and they spew on you like that, it's not necessarily their true self as much as it is a reaction, because there's really nobody there. That's the thing. It would be crediting them to say that it was even them, even though it's evil. But to be honest with you, it's kind of like they can become whatever the demons want them to become, because there is nothing there. It's like that's why they're called soulless portals, because they are soulless, meaning they don't control anything. They've probably been taught to control certain things, and that's why that they get the narcissist addicted to people as forms of supply. That way they're always running to get more because of the addiction and the satiety from the addiction. But that's what the demons is. They came into the narcissist, into their body, into their vessel. They use everything. They come into the vessel of the narcissist and they use everything natural in its wrong way. Almost like if the narcissist is backwards in every way to humanity, they're just like the enemy. The enemy is backwards from Christ. Christ is Christ. He's the Messiah. And what is the enemy known for, or whatever? He has the false prophet, right? Or the antichrist. So it's the opposite of Christ, antichrist. It's kind of like demons. You can backmask them and words will speak normal. It's because God has ordained for us to speak our words forward. So they're so evil in their kingdom, they probably speak backwards. Because it's against God. It's to defy God. It's like that guy who did the moonwalk. He was telling you he was in the cult. Culture is cult. Really. I honestly believe that we're reset and the millennial kingdom ended already. 1812. And we're in the short season. But we were also raised up in the short season from the fallen ones. At least the first generation. The occupiers. But you'd have to go to Revelation N 505, my other channel, to get some information on that, which I don't expect you to believe. But culture is just another way of dividing, really, at the end of the day. But yeah, doing the moonwalk backwards, that's to say, because God ordained us to walk forwards, that's to defy God. That's what that really was. It's to say that that's what that's about. That's why on the right frontal lobe, the anatomical right, is because Christ is the right hand of God the Father, the anatomical. Everything in the Bible in the right hand is blessed. On the right hand, everything in the Bible is blessed. And everything on the left is cursed. And it's interesting that the narcissists were creativity, the God centers, right? God's, what God would be known for: creativity, common sense, and the love centers. Where the fruits of spirits would be are on the anatomical right, and that's where it's put out on the narcissist. That's why they have somewhat of a logical side. That's why people say when you're logical and you don't have love and the fruits of the spirit, that's why people say they don't act human. They're not human, because you're cold and you don't have any remorse for the things that you do. You have no conscience. And when you have no conscience and you have no remorse and you don't know how to express your feelings, so you're cold, you can just tell somebody off and leave them. You can look them in the face, straight-faced. That's why narcissists will look straight-faced at you a lot of times, because they have no remorse. They're cold, they're reprobate. And if you don't have love and the fruits of the spirit, you act as if artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is what wrote our history. If you look into it, you're going to find our history is a lie in most cases, since the crucifixion of Christ, pretty much. And you'll see this and you'll notice that some sort of artificial intelligence had to write our history, because it's stupid when you look into it and you see all the holes in it. But artificial intelligence is really fallen technology, is my point. It's fallen technology. I mean, www in Hebrew is the Vave in Hebrew is 666. World Wide Web. Or, and that's why that the enemy would put the mark of the beast in the right hand or the forehead, because the anatomical right is to defy God, but he's not putting it in the left, which would be his hand. He'd put it in the forehead. So if you had an amputated right arm, you still have a forehead, but he ain't putting it in this arm. He ain't putting it in the left arm. He's doing it to mock God. That's what this is all about. People don't want to get on the spiritual side of things, but the man anatomically to the right of them is the one that accepted them. They threw the nets to the left, didn't catch anything. They always blessed with their right hand, and they even would eat with their right hand and wipe their butt with their left. I mean, it's like it's all throughout. Sun rises on the east side. The east side of the anatomical earth, with heaven being high north, is the right side. That's where the sun rises, and it sets on the west side, the left side. That's darkness, the enemy. And it just goes on and on. But yeah, the narcissist, they like to come to people who are overly conscientious and don't have a lot of boundaries, and when they upset somebody, they want to make sure that they're okay and all of that. They want to comfort them. They usually give too much information, and they're willing to be loyal a lot of times. So these are things they look for. Overly helpful. If you're overly helpful, because the narcissist is lazy, right? We always say that. So the narcissist is always going to be the type that's going to be looking for help, or somebody who's going to be listening to their problems because they are always in victimhood. And they like people also that like to talk about that are frustrated, like talk about people and backbite, because they know how to process that. So they'll be able to chime right in with that. So these are just different things. What the narcissist is, when you say a spectrum, it's almost like when I say they inflame everything. It's like the narcissist, the spectrum, in my opinion, is how much do they inflame everything in your life, you know? It's just to the evil, the extent of the evil on the spectrum. Sheep to the right and goats to the left, right? And even right is right. And left is what was left. But when you're talking about the narcissist, they can be anybody or anything. And when they have several different people that they deal with, they have a mask on the shelf that they put back on. Sometimes they have to adjust the mask. They have to add or take away from it so that they can convince you to let them back in again. Whatever it takes, so that they can win you back for a time. But everything is supply. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and a thumbs up. Love you all. Till next time. Peace be out.